Not too long ago, Brandon Aiyuk seemed to just be breaking the surface as one of the NFL's new premier wideout talents. But fast forward just 3.5 years, and he has completely fallen off the map. From back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, snatching the wide receiver one spot from Deebo Samuel and being just a hair away from a Lombardi trophy twice, to seemingly quitting on the 49ers, this is the strange saga of Brandon Aiyuk.
Chasing, Purdy gets out of there, looking deep, back of the end zone, he's got Aiyuk for the touchdown!
On draft night in April of 2020, the 49ers traded up in the first round. Not for a quarterback, not for O-line help, but for one guy that Kyle Shanahan had his eye on especially, the wide receiver out of Arizona State University. The 6-foot, 205-pound receiver boasted elite route running ability, along with solid playmaking and yards after catch ability as well. Unfortunately, injuries would hide his full potential in his rookie year, but by year 2, he began to carve out a bigger role, posting an 800-yard season, but he was only getting started. Despite a loaded San Fran offense, years 3 and 4 for the bright young star proved paramount, as even in an offense headlined by Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and others, he managed to put up back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, and once again snipped a Super Bowl win before falling short to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs once again. Normally, this kind of blueprint for a young wide receiver, especially in a system like Shanahan's, points to an elite career, a franchise cornerstone type of guy, a long-term extension kind of guy. Remember that phrase, because you'll hear it again pretty soon. Like any franchise who's willing to spend money would do, the 49ers decided to lock the wide receiver up on a long-term deal. And this is the exact point where things quickly began to go south. Over the offseason, the two sides began to discuss, but talks quickly stalled, likely due to a very high asking price by Aiyuk in his camp.
I want to be in this position right here that I'm in right now, standing here, talking to y'all. But like I said, every day was different. It's negotiation. Every day is different. And just following my heart and myself in each day. And that led to here today.
But this is nothing new. For years now in the NFL, players have been holding out, demanding contracts, and straight up refusing to play. So alas, the two sides came to an agreement, and on August 29, 2024, the San Francisco 49ers signed Brandon Aiyuk to a 4-year, $120 million extension, with $76 million of that being fully guaranteed. All seemed normal in the eyes of most fans, but that's when disaster struck.
Brandon Aiyuk.
Brandon Aiyuk.
Brandon Aiyuk is officially done for the season. An MRI confirmed that the Rockland native tore his ACL and MCL in his right knee during that play right there.
In Week 7 of the 2024 NFL season, in their matchup against the Chiefs, Brandon Aiyuk went down with a torn ACL, effectively ending his season right then and there. Obviously, your young star wide receiver who you just gave a huge contract to getting injured isn't ideal, but it's not usually the end of the world. However, in the case of Brandon Aiyuk, theoretically it seems like it was. What should have been just a standard 9 to 12 month rehab and recovery turned into an absolute organizational disaster, exposing just how flawed the relationship between the two sides was. As reports go, the 49ers expected Aiyuk to attack rehab and return sometime in 2025. Instead, he began missing scheduled rehab appointments, something multiple reporters confirmed that the team viewed as a major issue. The team believed that he was not following the recovery protocol, and some reports even suggested that he cut off communication with the trainers altogether. This may sound like a headache, but it's just the beginning, because behavior like this became a pattern. During the early weeks of the 2025 season, Aiyuk barely showed at training camp, with even teammates of his like George Kittle being on record talking about how, quote, he was kind of at training camp and kind of not, with some reports even saying that the young wide receiver avoided the locker room and training room completely, choosing to rehab alone in the weight room. Kittle further stated that he'd go find him just to talk to him because Aiyuk wasn't attending any of the meetings or team activities. His behavior at this point in time was a sign to the Niners that this wasn't rehab, it was a disconnect, and you could even go as far as calling it straight refusal to play football. And by mid-2025, they had seen enough. They voided nearly $25 to $27 million of his 2026 guarantees, a massive move that only happens when a team believes that a player has violated contractual obligations. Communication between Aiyuk and the team deteriorated even further, and by the fall, Aiyuk was pretty much absent from the team entirely. Reporters said that he had been absent for over a month and a half, only showing up in the very early mornings to rehab alone before, quote, skedaddling. And on December 13, 2025, 49ers placed him on the reserve/left team list, a designation usually only used for players who are stepping away or considering retirement, and one that made him ineligible to return for the rest of the season. Once the designation hit, the silence around Aiyuk became deafening. No press conferences, no statements, no social media posts, nothing. For a player who once felt like the emotional heartbeat of an offense, he had suddenly vanished into the NFL landscape. This marked the end of any chance Aiyuk would ever play for the 49ers ever again, but maybe someone would want him, right? Well, the answer is complicated.
What team will Brandon Aiyuk end up playing for next season?
While the situation was difficult, and like I mentioned before, the wideout will never play for the 49ers again, it's hard for the front office to just give away a former first-round pick, a guy you traded assets to get, for absolutely nothing. so the stalemate just continued. But of course, nothing in the NFL comes without a little drama.
This is really scary. About an hour ago, Brandon Aiyuk posted a video of him speeding like in 105, 107 miles an hour on a city street right past Levi Stadium.
As in late 2025, Brandon Aiyuk would post a very concerning video to his Instagram story. In the video, it showed the young wide receiver seemingly speeding at around 90 to 100 miles an hour past Levi Stadium in San Francisco. Obviously, this sparked not only confusing thoughts, but also concern among the NFL community, as many were now worried about his mental health. Although he would soon after apologize, we all know what's already public stays public on social media, apologetic or not. And as the 2026 offseason rolled in, 49ers all but made it public news that they were fully moving on from Aiyuk. And with the draft in sight, the question was now when, not if. Although it was speculated at first that they would be releasing him any day now, reports now indicate that the team may be holding out until the 2026 draft, hoping to find a trade partner. Additionally, releasing him post-June 1st would save them around $6 million in cap space. Multiple NFC teams have reportedly been interested, with his most likely landing spot being the Washington Commanders, as the franchise has been on record claiming that they want to add wide receiver talent next to Terry McLaurin.
What's up, Brandon?
How you doing, Coach?
Oh, we're doing really good right now. We're doing great, man.
So here we are, nearly 4 years removed from the moment Brandon Aiyuk looked like the next superstar wideout in the NFL, and somehow he's become one of the league's biggest mysteries. A former first-round pick, a back-to-back 1,000-yard receiver, a player who once felt like the future of the 49ers offense, now reduced to a name floating in trade rumors, Instagram clips, and silence. The worst part about it is that it all stemmed from a season-ending injury. Who knows? If that injury never happened, Brandon Aiyuk might still be playing for the 49ers, becoming even more elite and headlining as the league's best receiver. But that's all for now. And if you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. Peace.